So welcome to Chapter 4 of Principal's Guide to School Budgeting. This says to me that we are officially in the second half of the course. So some of the concepts that we're going to be looking at this time are a little more in depth and a little more detailed, so I want you to keep that in mind. So this is more of the practical application. So I'm not big on telling people to read a textbook. I don't like the idea of reading a textbook because you're all busy, you don't want to waste your time, but the first 3 chapters you could have got by pretty much scanning it, watching my videos. This one, I would read it. I would read it a couple of times just to understand the content, especially if you're in a school that uses this system. I didn't split 4 through 6 up from discussion because you need each one to build off of each other. So this week is the only week, if you look at all my schedules, I'm very fair on the readings. I got a lot of reading this week, and the reason is you have to have 4, 5, and 6 all at once. This is the longest week of reading in the class, and I do it that way for a purpose, so I want you to know that. So, this text relies heavily on graphs and charts, which I can't put them in here because I'm essentially supplementing your reading of the text. So while you're watching the videos and reading the PowerPoint presentations, keep your book handy. And I'll tell you if there's something to look at because I'll still refer to them in the presentations and we'll supplement with the graphs a little bit. So page 81 of your text explains the Sorensen, Goldsmith, who are our authors, their budget model. The thing that they try to explain is the most important element of the model is leadership, which is at the top of the model to show the relationship between leadership and all other elements of the budget. Now I want to hold up on this because if you remember in Money in Schools, they say that the most important element of the budget is instructional decisions. So this is 2 different authors. They're saying leadership. Thompson, Wood, and Crampton, Money in Schools, say it's instruction. So this is supported with ongoing evaluation, analysis, and course correction. We're going to go over the 8 steps to the model. This is important. If there's one big idea from this chapter, it's the 8 steps to the model, and that's what I want to cover here. So the first thing that you have to do is identify how many stakeholders you have and who they are. Obviously, you're designing your budget around teachers. Teacher salary, number 1, most important thing. They are the most important stakeholders in your building, and teachers cost money. So parents are stakeholders, community members and students are too, but you're going to be spending your money on your teachers and your teaching staff, especially if you have a high population of veteran teachers. The other thing that I always suggest you do is understand that you have to get the percentages of ELL, SPED, and then ELL and SPED teachers so that you can balance the budget around their instructional needs. You're going to have to get funding for support from that, and remember, these guys come first. We live in an accountability model where these teachers actually do come first. So stakeholder selection, if we're doing site-based budgeting, which in theory that's what we're looking in, you need to make sure you have the right people that are on hand that can provide input. If you're in an elementary setting, my advice is you want 1 teacher per grade level. The worst thing that can happen is you have 5 3rd grade teachers making all the decisions because they don't know what's going on in the preschool room or the 4th grade room. High school, I would say 1 teacher per subject area, and then the secretary should be involved in the process too. Parent representatives, it's in our textbook. I added depends on the district because you don't want the parent representatives making all the decisions. Union representatives, if you're a unionized district, I think that also depends on the district as well. So try to make sure that you have a district representative as well. I always say that if the business manager is available, that's who it should be. If it's not, probably the assistant superintendent. The other thing to note is that people shouldn't be on this forever. It should be 2 to 3 year terms to get different voices so that you can show the rest of the teaching staff different people can be heard and their opinions matter as well. So needs assessment, I said this multiple times throughout this class and everything I've been saying, is the needs assessment has to be done over time. Anytime you look at data, it cannot be a snapshot from the previous year. If you're doing it correctly, you need a 3-5 year progression of data. And you have to survey other people too as well. The district can help you with the data that you're given, and then they'll also help you budget and set something up with it as well. So then you analyze the data. I have found, my experience has shown me, principals are good at gathering data. But when it comes to interpretation, really their level of it differs. So, you know, it's when you're trying to explain it then to the teaching staff, that's where principals need training. One of the problems, and I mentioned this earlier in the class, data analysis traditionally is not done in a master's program. It's not done as part of principal certification. It's done in a doctoral program, but not a master's level. So when you're doing data analysis, you need to work with a mentor administrator, preferably in another district, and that will help you understand how to analyze data. So what are some tips that you can do that you can think to be better in data analysis? These are my personal experiences. This is my stuff, not textbook stuff, but what I would do if I were a new principal with little training in data analysis. So this is what I would do. This is not given in the book. This is my approach that I would use. Number one, I would do attendance data first. Here's the reason why. It's transparent. Give me 2 minutes in any school district, I can get the attendance data. It's right there, it's in front of you. Take it, break it into subgroups. Everybody always says, look at race, gender, free and reduced lunch. Yeah, you learn more by looking at the SPED population for attendance. That's where you're actually going to see where there are deficiencies and where there could be issues with attendance. If there's anything that you see that pops out at you, like we have a low population of male Hispanics that are going to school, then you should be looking for grants that can possibly fund to improve those trends. Then you do test scores, but do attendance first. Most people would say test scores first. I don't. Attendance is right there. Anybody can do it. Test scores, I realize, you know, we're in a state where they do test on science and social studies here, but you want funding, you want money. English comes first, math comes second. So look at the overall results, then stratify by subgroups. What you want to see too is if you can look at other districts that have done well, see if there's a purchasing curriculum trend, something that they bought. Did they buy Go Math? Are they using everyday math? What kind of program are they using that's made them successful? Then, you know, remember, I taught high school, but I was an administrator at the elementary level. You know, and this is blunt, and some of you might disagree with me on this, but I was in a very rural district that was very poor. And one of the challenges that I had was I couldn't fire my teachers because it was unionized. So I was in a K-4 building. My best teachers needed to be in 3rd grade and they needed to be in 4th grade. So if I had a poor teacher in 3rd grade, and that was a high stakes testing grade, they were moved to 1st and 2nd. I couldn't get rid of them. I wish I could get rid of them, but I couldn't. So they were moved to 1st or 2nd. In kindergarten, as I think I've told a lot of you before, kindergarten kind of has its own contract in most of your unionized districts, so those teachers have been determined long before any principals get there. If the district assigns teachers to you and you have to determine how to use them, if they were unsuccessful in another building, don't put them in a high stakes testing grade. Same can be said for those of you that are at the high school level. Your important subject areas that are going to be tested on, you want your top teachers there. Look at data throughout the year, not over the summer. A lot of principals get in this habit of looking just, you know, throughout the summer. You got to do it throughout the year. Best time to do a data analysis really is December. Parents are very happy in December. They come back from Thanksgiving break. The kids are back. The parents really are not going to cause you any problems. Best time to be a principal is that month. It's a good time to look at data because you can hang out in your office a lot. It's probably your clearest time that you'll have. So needs prioritization, most of the time there's going to be more needs than you need. So you have to prioritize. We've mentioned Maslow's hierarchy of needs a few times in here. Make sure that safety and security comes first. And as long as that can happen in your building, you're good. That's where you spend your money. Then focus on curriculum and make sure the funds are distributing fairly and equitably. And as I keep saying, and I sound like a broken record, English and reading curriculum comes first. Goal setting. Once you spend money, you have to have goals with it. You have to say what the goals are from the funds that you allocate. If you're focused on improving sped performance, look at each component that you spend on and how it can be impacted by your spending. If you're successful, you'll probably get more money next year. If you fail, then that's going to be something that you have to step back and revisit. Share the goals with the committee so that they can understand your goals, and the rest of the staff does as well. So a couple of ideas that are important for goal setting. People at the working level tend to know the problems best. What the working level means is these are people that are actually in the school district. These are your teaching staff, and most importantly, your special education teachers. The face-to-face work group is the best unit for diagnostics and change. Make sure these are the people that are staying after school and talking about data. People will work hard to achieve objectives and goals that they have helped to develop. So if you give people a list of goals and objectives and say, yo, do this, they're not going to do it. You got to work with them on it. Creativity helps and initiative helps, and that's going to make them be comfortable setting goals as well. So performance objectives, every single one of you, when you're a building principal, you're going to tell your teachers, write in the form of performance objectives. Well, the same thing is said with a budget as well. Everything you do must be clearly measurable and easy to understand by everybody reading. If you are claiming that you use data-driven decision, this is essential in your planning. There have to be performance objectives built in. So an action plan is a living document. All stakeholders in your building, teachers, administrative staff, paraprofessionals, get this action plan. It should change, and if there's a big change to it, that is what your meetings after school are for, so that you can communicate with them. You need something that you can present to everyone in the school, and everybody in the school should be able to understand it as well. So what is included in an action plan? Once again, I refer you to page 99 in the textbook. They'll give you an example of what one should look like, and they'll show you how it's actually spaced out. So that's it for this chapter. Our next chapter looks at efficient and effective budgeting practice. Try to think about that as we develop our activity plan for the final project. Thank you.